Well, what a Tuesday treat we have had. You did not know what was happening till the very last ball went to the boundary. 6 runs needed off the last ball. It was Rishabh Pant who had already got to a 50 on strike to Mohammad Siraj. And it was just a perfect delivery that probably wouldn't have allowed you to get under it to hit a 6. But Pant reached for it, got a 4. The result, the men in red win by 1 run. You could not ask for a closer finish. You could not ask for a better cricket match. There it is. That's the summary of match number 22. 171 for 5. Looked good, but it didn't look overwhelming. Delhi didn't have the best start, but they had a magical partnership from their captain, Rishabh Pant, 58 of 48. And what an innings from Pant-Hetmyer coming to the party for the first time. 53 not out of 25 deliveries. 171 plays 170. And I think the best thing that happened there was that Dew did not play a part and we had a great cricket match. Pommie Mbangwa, we tried to call it in the 10th over. It was red versus blue, but to be fair, I won't take any credit. It could have been anyone's game.
Yeah, look, in the middle, it's difficult to say. It's difficult to say which way. And the reason I say, have you called right, have you called wrong, is how can you legislate for an innings like that from Rishabh Pant? You couldn't. There's no ways you'd have a scenario where he'd be bogged down like that. Also, in terms of form, not necessarily talent. We know he's got the talent, but as far as form is concerned, can you expect that off 25 balls, he hit 53, Pant-Hetmyer? I don't know. I don't know that you can expect that. So I fully understand why you'd have gone the red at the time. But I always felt that the death would be difficult for 2 reasons. I thought, yes, the Jew hasn't come in, and perhaps it's been easier to this point. I thought towards the end it might. If it did, it would be difficult, and they would kind of easily get those runs because it would make it easier for them to bat and not so easy to bowl. As it turned out, that wasn't the case. In fact, and Sean Pollock's has been messaging saying actually that, hey, there was a little bit of reverse there at the back end, and Mohammad Siraj with a bit of reverse, it means that the ball ducks into you or ducks away from you. It doesn't go, so you can't just swing in one arc and hit the ball out the ground. When they got them right, the Yorkers were difficult to get away. They were difficult to squeeze away. And that goes for both sides, actually. We've seen 2 sides happy to have a go at both games. A really good game between 2 sides that look quite good.
Just a while ago, Joy, we were talking about AB de Villiers and Superman. But what about that last face-off? That dot ball from Mohammad Siraj to Rishabh Pant. He picks up the ball, almost has a go at him. And just a while ago at the Gabba, these 2 guys, hand in hand, were taking India to a slice of history. What cricket gives us?
It is totally amazing. In fact, I was thinking about a Charles Dickens story, a very famous story when I was thinking of this. He's wrote something called The Tale of Two Cities. For me, this match is the tale of 2 overs. The 23 runs and Stoinis bowling the last over of there. 23 runs, and that 23 is really the difference between these 2 sides. If he goes and gets 10 or 12 runs, they win this match. They definitely win this match. And the 12 runs that Siraj gave and the choice, big call by the captain. One captain called, couldn't find a way to accommodate Amit Mishra, was forced to go with Stoinis. The other captain called, you have Daniel Sams, who's been absolutely terrific, international bowler, bowls very well. He's got 2 overs for 15 runs. Siraj has gone for 32 and 3. He goes back to Siraj because he feels, as Sean Pollock would have been talking about, there's a little bit there for him, and he just has confidence in his bowler, goes to him. I think there's so much out there, so many side plots and plays in this game. You can talk about this game for hours. There's so much in this game.
He certainly can. We were having a discussion just before that last over was being bowled. We had a choice in the previous innings. Obviously, it was really Hobson's choice because by that time it was only Stoinis, not Mishra. But here, Pommie, We discussed it. Could he go Sams? He's got better analysis. He's the international, as Joy said. But Siraj, not known to be a traditional death bowler, has certainly stood up. Big bow added to his, a big feather added to his cap.
Yeah, and I suppose a few things go through the captain's mind, and what does he want? What does the bowler generally do? What's happened on the day? And as Joy said, because he's gone for 32, you might think that, I'm not going to go with him. I need to go to Daniel Sams because the option is available. When there's no option, well, then, you're not really making a choice. You're going with whoever you have to go with. But this time he goes with his gut, and sometimes they'll say, well, who's my man? This guy's my man. When situations are difficult, he stands up, and that's generally how Siraj goes. He's happy to go in whatever situation, and he chose correctly. Now, someone look at the full tosses there that were hit away for 4. Think about where those full tosses were and where he was trying to bowl. Couple of balls where he's trying to bowl wide Yorkers out of the arc of the batsman. All that's important there, with so many to defend and with the 3 that is bowled that are quite good, is that those are not wides or no balls. So job done. On another day with somebody else there, perhaps it goes out the ground and it goes for 6 rather than for 4. But in this case, job done. It kept us interested, certainly on the edges of the seats.
Yeah, it's been an emotional year for Siraj. And when you look back, if you were not watching this game, you'd look at the analysis and go, 4 overs, 1 for 44. Nah, he didn't contribute. Who else contributed? Let's have a look down. Joy, a scorecard never, I mean, rarely tell the story when it's a situation like this.
This is why you shouldn't be reading blurbs and you should be reading the complete novel. This was just so many ups and downs. And, there's some side plays out there. I mean, I thought Harshal Patel's 19th over was such a brilliant comeback. Kyle Jamieson, again, international bowler, just loses a bit, just bowls 3 slot balls, all 3 disappear. Actually, there are 2.5 slot balls because, third was not in the slot really, but somehow Hetmyer just had the body strength, the middle body strength to be able to hit it out of the ground. So 2.5 balls gone for 18 runs. Harshal Patel comes back and bowls. He's bowling against the franchise who released him last year, comes back and bowls a gorgeous over, an absolutely gorgeous over. Every time he gets it right. And those 11 runs in that over is, I think, crucial because had he gone for about 14, 15, I don't think Siraj would have found it in himself to defend in the end.
Yeah, I mean, just listening to Siraj, who is being spoken to at the end of the game, a couple of things he mentioned that stands out. One, that he felt that the Yorker was coming out right. So chances are, we don't know what happened. Virat Kohli may have had a little huddle with AB de Villiers. Maybe Daniel Sams was there. Maybe Siraj was there. He did put his hand up and say, I feel the Yorkers are coming out right. And the second question, the follow-up, was that Test cricket has actually helped him get better in this format of the game. And that, I think, is a big compliment to a format of the game not everybody necessarily understands, Pommie.
Yeah, I suppose the understand part is from what it does and when you're out there. So often, many will speak of guys learning to bowl. Well, you got nowhere to hide in test matches. You got long days and many spells to come back and to figure out a way of how to get people out, to execute whatever it is in that spell that is required. So you learn yourself, skills, you learn mental strength to come back over and over and over again. And in this format, it's all very compressed, and there are certain skills that kind of seem to stand out because it gets to the end and you're trying to defend 14 as the case was today, and there are guys who can whack it, and you've got to make sure that you muster the mental strength to be able, one, to believe you can do it, and two, to recall when you did it and feel as you do it. So can you shut out everything? Can you ensure that you're, not going on history in the over? So if you get one right or if you get one wrong, forget, go to the next one. Make sure that you're able to cut out the bad, keep in the good. It's, you learn it over time, and he's learned it on the toughest stage of all, which is Test match cricket. This over itself will kind of stand in good stead for the tournament as the tournament goes along, because it probably won't be the last over. He'll have to close out a game.
Yeah, Rishabh Pant also, apart from saying that he felt there's about 10 or 15 runs extra on this particular wicket, that's what he felt. And once again, it comes back to that de Villiers over. Minus from 23, you take away 10, you're talking 13. That's the kind of figure we were saying that a bowler other than Stoinis may have conceded. But he did defend, not going to Mishra, obviously not for the last, but even slightly earlier, because he said he didn't feel the spinners were getting the kind of help they expected. So hence, Stoinis very much part of his plans. Whether he could have bowled him earlier than the 20th is a different matter, but at least he's admitted that why the spinners won't use Joy.
I think you would have to. And look at the other side. I mean, he's talking about spinners not being used. Look at what Virat Kohli has done, because the more you dissect this match, the more you see it's actually been a captaincy masterclass for him. Yajuvendra Chahal is his go-to bowler all the time. Look at him. He doesn't complete his quota. He bowls just 2 overs. Who does he bowl 4 overs with? He bowls 4 overs with somebody who's bowling to a lot of left-handers, Washington Sundar. And there's a Washington Sundar over, which is basically over number 14, where he just goes for 4 runs. That's that crucial over that turns things around, because suddenly Rishabh Pant is struggling. He's not being able to time it. So I think whatever has happened, 2 captains, 2 teams, very, very even. I think what's happened out here is just Virat Kohli's slightly better use of the manpower at his disposal has just taken them over the edge. I mean, this is certainly, he's made some very, very good calls out here today.
Yes, he certainly has. It's a one of narrow margins. I remember listening on commentary to a decision that took place earlier where the ball flicked the pad. It was given a wide. Now that could again prove to be crucial. And it was said exactly at that time, Simon Dool said, can you imagine if this match is decided by 1 run? We look back at a decision like that. Well, folks, it's happened. So it's one of those things we need to keep a close eye on, Pommie.
Yeah, well, look, you don't want errors to occur. You don't want situations like that to decide games. But I think we can go away from that and say it didn't essentially decide the game. I know what you're saying, and I know what the point is. We don't want any errors to occur as an innings goes along, as a game goes along. Unfortunately, we've not arrived at a place where everything can be 100% right. Unfortunately, perhaps it adds to the charm, the intrigue of the game. That just imagine if, perhaps.
Yeah, there was a talk of the no ball as well, but we looked at it again. It was fine in terms of height, that penultimate ball, but it was close, Joy. I mean, it could have been a matter of millimeters. Had it been over the waist, it was Delhi's game. I mean, there's no question about it.
Yeah, it's just those margins out there. 1 ball in the boundary being stopped, 1-4 going. Those are the little things that change games, and it's so difficult to call. That's why every player will tell you that there's so much that they do, and there's that little element of luck which just has to go. That 2 millimeters up, 2 millimeters down, partly skill, partly luck, partly circumstances. But I mean, that's what it happens. You get all this together. Again, Delhi didn't play well. Delhi didn't bat well at all. Other than Pant-Hetmyer, nobody really got going for Delhi. And they still come so close. That is something that tells you something about the strength of this Delhi side. I mean, in a match like this where they haven't really batted and their captain has had an absolutely uncharacteristic innings. Rishabh Pant will be the first to admit that this 58 or 48, the way he celebrated his 50, he just angrily hit his bat on the pads. You could make out that he knows he hasn't done his job. I mean, Hetmyer has carried them so far. And I mean, what are the odds that Rishabh Pant has faced so many balls and you don't want him to face the final few balls? As Delhi didn't. Delhi wanted Hetmyer to face it.
Yeah, well, Delhi, I think will be happy for a variety of reasons. In defeat, you can take a lot of plus points. That was one of the slots. Hetmyer, another couple of innings. I think you're already saying Nokia in for Hetmyer. It was a possibility, but Hetmyer has hung on to his place. Now it's a matter of Steve Smith trying to hang on to his place for a while against Anrich Nokia. But that is for another day. Let's see what this narrow victory has done for the points table. There you see it. Bangalore sneaked back on top. They were on top after 3 games. They're back on top right now. 5 wins out of 6. Delhi aren't too far away. They're still on 8 in 3rd place. And a bit of a gap then to all those teams clustered on 4, which just means that Mumbai may be ahead. But just look over your shoulder. You've got Kolkata, Punjab and Rajasthan all breathing down your neck.
It's a big victory, I think, for RCB. You know, it's one thing. Its side goes 4-0. You think, okay, they're looking fantastic. They lose one. They lose it quite badly, and you think, oh, it's going to be the same old, isn't it? They're going to go on a slide here. It was important for them to come back here and to win it. They did well to get themselves to 171. And then somewhere sort of 17, 18, you thought, oh dear, they're going to mess this up again, aren't they? They're going to, you know, it's looking so unlikely. They're so in control of the game. The run rates got out of control, and it's really in the favor of the bowling side. But here's Hetmyer, who's cutting loose and is going to get Delhi over the line. And Rishabh Pant hasn't managed to go yet. So they might well fail to defend this. And they're going to sit there and say, after 16 overs, we'd won the game. You know, if you looked at it then, there was no ways these guys should have come back. How have they come back? They could be sitting in the change room there with 2 losses on the bounce and that familiar feeling of, after such a good start, we've gone and thrown it away from a position where we should have won this one and perhaps should have played that bit better and might have got over the line in the previous one. So, yeah, I think it's a humongous victory, and the confidence will be sky high with RCB going forward.
Yeah, and just to add to that victory, Joy, just the way the ebbs and flows we had, long way to go, but for now, best match of the tournament for you, Joy?
Yeah, I'll have to say, because we've had a super over before, but you know, the last match that we had, the super over match, it was more about both teams making mistakes. In this match, it was almost about both teams making positive plays. You know, they're making positive plays. I mean, somebody like a De Villiers pushing that 23, suddenly changing the ante. Somebody like Harshal Patel coming back. Somebody like Hetmyer, you know, responding for them. So it was like, again, a heavyweight slugging match. And, you know, it's a pity that only one team had to win. But what a fantastic match. Amazing match.
Yep, certainly is. Ebbs and flows is exactly what we love. Now we've talked about one new venue, that's Ahmedabad. We have yet another one. Mumbai done, Chennai done, Ahmedabad introduced, and now it's time to head to the national capital. Yes, that's where we're headed. 2 teams have already landed there, and there they are, the men in orange and the men in yellow, to take part in match number 23 from the Feroz Shah Kotla. It's Chennai against Hyderabad, and it's going to be 2 different teams. One very buoyant, very confident, the other still trying to find a perfect 11. So it's going to be an interesting battle. And I guess let's start with the team that's in slight disarray, Pommie. The Orange Army, whether they might have finally got a victory on the board or not, they've used 21 players already in the tournament. And I think that is significant.
Yeah, it is. When you're not winning, you search, don't you? It's difficult. You start to doubt selections. You're not sure if you've made the right ones, and so you change. You're looking for that winning formula. You're looking to plug various holes. As far as they're concerned, what they want, I guess, is the top order to fire and Williamson to stabilize things. I think in a situation where they're chasing, I mean, you watched him play, was it yesterday? It was yesterday, wasn't it? You know, he's such an important player for them. They just need everything else to click. In fact, yesterday you felt that they should have won. You don't want sides playing that well, you know, getting out of jail and then not getting over the line. That does a whole lot of damage. It does more damage than good. You know, sometimes you'd say, oh, take the positives out of certain games, etc. But when a side's got that close and has been losing already and they don't get over the line, it's a problem. Hopefully, there's not a whole lot of change in terms of personnel chopping and changing. but they can stick to what they think is a formula with regard to their team and try and back the guys that they pick.
Right, Joy, I'm going to come to you for as we have a look at the squads, because a lot of players used, and certainly I think somebody like a Mohammad Nabi, and the reason why I bring him up is because he's obviously the subject of your Joy Factor question today, but no connection with that. I mean, Jason Holder, Mohammad Nabi, two solid parts of that middle order are missing. Obviously, they're foreign players. That's why they can't get in. Do you see either of them coming in?
No, I can't. Because the way Williamson is played and with Rashid Khan out there, they really can't now change their international personnel. I think they missed a trick by not sending Bairstow in with Williamson. But I think what had happened there was when they were walking in, they would have decided they'll go left and right, because in case Axar Patel bowls, they felt Warner would have the advantage being a left-hander. I think that's what they were thinking. It obviously didn't work out. Hindsight is 20/20 vision. You could have turned around and said that, Bairstow in the form he was and the kind of strength that he has, Axar Patel, he could have taken on Axar Patel. But I think they got that wrong. I think the big problem is, do they bring back Manish Pandey? Because see, they've paid that money for Manish Pandey. He's been sat down. He's been explained that, okay, you need to up your run rate. You need to up your game to come back in again. Do they bring him back? If they bring him back, who goes out? I think Vijay Shankar is doing okay with them for the ball. I think Abhishek Sharma is also doing okay. Which means... Sorry?
Virat Singh goes out?
I really... Virat Singh hasn't done anything for me. Virat Singh has definitely not done anything for me. Manish Pandey for Virat Singh is a straight swap for me. I would definitely look to get in Abdul Samad if Samad is fit. And the other choice, of course, is that Bhuvaneshwar apparently pulled up just before the match with a bit of a niggle. If Bhuvi is fit, Bhuvi is their strike bowler. They need him back immediately. I mean, without Bhuvi, they look a very different side. Right in the starting overs, in the end overs, Bhuvi is a very important player to them.
Yep, but are you concurrent with that, Pommie? Just looking at the squad as we have there. So Suchit goes out, Bhuvi comes in, Manish Pandey, drag him in there to try and stabilize that middle order in place of Virat Singh.
Yeah, I think you have to back your big players. So I think you have to, give them a brief, and where they've gone wrong, allow them to rectify. I know some people want to just make change and make the changes in order to make the point, so to speak. But I think backing people is the way to go. Allow a guy to fail for you, and if he fails for you and you've had the conversation, then you really are left with no option. But if you don't allow him to try and rectify things and you don't show him that you back him, then you instill doubt, because now you bring him back. How does he play? Is it clear in his mind? Does he go in and, can I just do what I do? And do they understand that I've been trying to do what I do? Everyone gets Manish Pandey because early on, if he walks in, he's going to go after the bowling. He's going to try and make sure that he utilizes the power play. In times past, you sort of looked and thought, do you know what? It's probably better if you keep going, if you're batting first. Keep going. Yes, be sensible. You don't want to just swipe at everything, but you need to keep your foot on the accelerator and you being the aggressor going at your opposition. With Kane Williamson further down the order, that frees up whoever comes in that number 3 role to be able to actually try and keep the pressure on with Bairstow or Warner, should either of them get going or not, as the case might be.
Yeah, and looking ahead to the opposition generally, Joy, the shortest previews we normally have for Dhoni's men. Any changes? No changes. Let's move on. But are we suggesting anything different?
No, I think now that we are in Delhi, I think Imran Tahir will keep playing. Imran Tahir, again, this is a surface that will suit him a lot. The question is, who is he going to play in? I mean, he's going to remain in the team, but does that mean who missed out last time? Did Bravo miss out last time?
No, Bravo played.
Ngidi missed out last time.
Ngidi missed out, yeah.
So I think right now they might play the same combination, unless I'd like to see Ngidi for Bravo, because I feel Ngidi gives them more than Bravo does at this point in time. But other than that, it's a packed side and there's very little else you want to do. Rituraj has now got an innings. Suresh Raina has got not just an innings, he's got a catch. he was celebrating with the team. You could sense that it's not all there, and somewhere in that last match with, whatever Ravindra Jadeja did, the floodgates have burst, and suddenly you see that emotion that you expect of a Chennai team on the field. That's important for them because Chennai relies a lot on that, that glue that gets them all together. And I think they're playing together as a team again, and now they're going to be a difficult team to beat. So I think not too many changes. I'd like to see Ngidi back. I don't know whether they'll do that.
And are we all unanimous that Jadeja keeps his place in the sides?
I'm gonna have to think about that one. I'm gonna have to think about that. I'll get back to you, okay?
All right, well done, Pommie. Let's instead talk about an international Superman. We've talked about our own for a moment, because before we finish, I think it's time to give him a little bit more. And that is, of course, AB de Villiers. What a performance from him. And Virat Kohli, and what he said at the end of the game, he said, AB hates me saying it, but he hasn't played competitive cricket for 5 months. And given that, his innings was absolutely top-notch, as he has done time and time again for us. I mean, that's obviously there's going to be high praise, but that not playing cricket, I think, has always been key. And Virat was very unequivocal on that.
Yeah, look, this guy is different class. That's, I said, whilst, I wasn't here yet, actually, and I watched when he started up in this year's IPL. And that's all I could say, just different class. And particularly because he hasn't been playing. So he's been practicing wherever in his backyard and must have a really good, bowling machine, or whoever bowls at him must be quite good because they've kept him in some incredible touch. And the shots that he's played today, I think what was impressive, apart from the shots, they're impressive every single time. And it seems he has chosen when to go at just the right time every single time. So when you think, is he going to try and get them to 180, so it might mean that he'll start going at them earlier, he doesn't. He reads the conditions and decides, right, from this point, I need to go. He goes, and those 75 runs were invaluable. They just bumped it up. A couple of early wickets meant, hold on. This is no longer that total we thought would kind of be run at the mill. We just have to bat and we'll get there. We've lost our openers, and it's those runs at the end. Put somebody else in that final over, and I don't know if it does go for 23. There are many guys who can whack it for 23, yes, but the aura of the man says the bowler feels a whole lot more under pressure and is more likely to get a couple more wrong because of how much you get punished by being just a little bit off by that man, AB de Villiers.
Well, I guess the only man is Jadeja, but we're not sure if he makes the team, so we won't talk about him for the moment.
Correct.
But
Correct.
I suspect Pommie was talking about who was bowling at him during that period. It's got to be a machine, Joy, because anybody else would be demoralized, even if it's in the backyard.
Absolutely. What a player. What a player. And notice the number of innings that he does. The one funny thing about de Villiers is you'll rarely see those knocks coming in a losing effort. In his knocks always seem to count. Somehow, they are narrow victories, but somehow those knocks always get his team over the line. And it's proved that again today, which means that, not just does he play like a god, he has this uncanny sense of what could be a winning total in his head. I feel he's got something there which he understands, which I think very few players do.
Well, he did say, in addition to that never mind the bowling machines or the people in the backyard, he worked out at home during quarantine in the hotel room. So the workouts have been coming. And two little bits that I enjoyed. He talked about the Rabada shot. He said, I don't normally get him away. Obviously, they know each other pretty well. But hitting that shot over mid-wicket to KG was one thing. And as an aside, Pommie, he mentioned that you may have noticed, and I think I noticed this, he's talking a lot more behind the stumps. He's chirping a lot more. Guess who's put him up to it? One guess from each of you in the team.
It must be Chahal. I can't see anything.
There you go. Well done. The quizzer gets it as per right on the dot. Yes, Yuzvendra Chahal has been asking him, pleading with him to talk more behind the stumps, and AB is obliged.
Well, there you go. And he'll have quite a bit to say. He sees a whole lot, as do keepers, from behind the stumps. Add what he sees to the experience, and then the distillation of what needs to happen from there. You're getting pretty good instructions from the man. So yeah, fantastic. And they've made a good start. May it not again be a case of, oh, they're playing so well. They've got all these superstars and wow, what? And then we don't want that. Well, I don't anyway, I don't.
All that remains is for ABD to be shouting out instructions in Afrikaans. Just like we've got Dinesh Karthik talking in Tamil, because he's got Varun Chakravarti with him. But the other day he seemed to be doing that when Sunil Narayan was bowling. So maybe ABD can do it even when Chahal's bowling. Teach him a bit of Afrikaans and off we go.
Yeah, I've just completely lost track of who Dinesh Karthik is now speaking to. Sometimes I think he's speaking to himself. Sometimes I think he's speaking to the bowlers. Sometimes I think he's just doing this monologue to the audience or for posterity. He's writing poetry. I don't know who he's talking to. Will somebody tell us, please?
Does Dinesh know?
We've got to probably ask him. We've got to probably ask him. He's got obviously a decent contract to do commentary in the UK. Maybe he also wants to do a bit down south. We'll find out soon enough. But where are we now? Joy Factor. Yes, it's been a long time ago since you asked the question, but it's an interesting one. I haven't come any closer to answering it, Joy. So please put me out of my misery.
Okay, and here is the question. In the final of which international tournament did Mohammad Nabi take the most wickets and Thirumane score the most runs? And of course, Thirumane's team won decisively in that final. It was the Asian Games. In the Incheon Asian Games, you actually had Asian Games rarely have cricket tournaments. You had a cricket tournament. Bangladesh played, Afghanistan played, and of course, Sri Lanka played. Sri Lanka won the finals. Bangladesh actually went down to Sri Lanka in the semi-finals and in an Asian game final. So they played, and instead of getting a man of the match, they got gold medals. What can you say about that? So I thought it was great fun. I really wanted to ask a question about that.
That's brilliant. I mean, if it had been the Afghan Premier League or something, it wouldn't be a fun question. That's why it had to be something like that. Love it. Brilliant question. Who was the one who picked up on that brilliance easiest and earliest of all? Fastest finger first was from he's back again. I think that's number 3 or 4 maybe for Bharat Reddy, who's just been easing out Crick Rohit at the bell. I'm not sure if Rohit answered the question today, but a few times it's been Bharat Reddy 1, Crick Rohit 2.
Yeah, and Bharat Reddy, as I said, Bharat Reddy on the 1979 Tour of India was India's wicketkeeper very famously. And given by this gentleman's track record, he seems to be catching up with that very distinguished international cricketer.
Yeah, I remember a couple of seasons ago, you had, I don't know what the question was, but Bharat Reddy was the answer to the question.
Yes, Bharat Reddy was the answer to the question. And if you go, it's very interesting. Chennai cricket, is dominated by 2 teams, Kemplast and India Cements. India Cements, of course, is the Chennai Super Kings team. And the other team there, Kemplast, the man who runs everything with that team is Bharat Reddy. So many of your boys, Rahul Dravid and all, have all played with Bharat Reddy.
There you go. Well, the namesake, our quizzing namesake, in case you're from a completely different generation, do read up about the man. But if you are, in fact, named after him, all the more. Maybe you can write into us. Come on. Hashtag Cricbuzz Live. You've answered so many questions. Write in and tell us if your name has anything to do with you being named after that 1979 Indian wicketkeeper. Well, there we are. Also, when you like these little extra nuggets of information, I can promise you there's one place you can get lots and lots of it. It's on Cricbuzz Plus. You've got to subscribe. We've all done that. You can come and join the Cricbuzz Plus family. We'll be more than happy to welcome you. Well, we've just managed to get in 6 minutes before midnight. Despite being a long game, I don't think any of us complained. It was quite a cracker. 1-run victory for the men from Bangalore who've gone top of the table. Delhi won't be despondent. They played well. They played their part, as did our guests in studio. Thank you, Pommie Mbangwa. Thank you, Joy Bhattacharjya. We'll see all of you again tomorrow for yet another game, this time from a new venue in Delhi. Until then, I'm Gautam Bhimani signing off on Cricbuzz Live, brought to you in association with our fantasy partner, My 11 Circle.